Hello you beautiful misfits, my name is Matt and this is Pixelburn, where I take a snarky look at some of the more important, interesting or irritating things from the week's gaming news. We begin with a recent update to a Ubisoft game that removed something rather than added something, and I'm not talking about that update for The Division that removed a loud crying woman either. Nope, the game in question is Watch Dogs 2, and the thing being removed is... well, you could say many people are rather attached to one. Intimately, in fact. Alright, enough beating around the bush. Ubisoft will be removing a non-player character's genitals from Watch Dogs 2. You see, aside from the occasional one-off glimpse of full-on man-meat or gammon purses, like that one seen in Red Dead Redemption, this bloke with a sizable trouser snake in GTA 4 The Lost and the Damned, and one of the murder victims in LA Noire, NPCs in video games are generally as smooth between the legs as one of the Lord's own blessed angels. Not so with Watch Dogs 2 however, as discovered earlier in the week by a UK gamer with the handle Swizzasaw on Twitter, when he accidentally killed a prostitute in an alley between Chinatown and Tenderloin. As you do. The lady of the night in question landed in a compromising position on her back, legs splayed and, much to Swizzasaw's complete surprise, her sausage shelter on brazen display for all the world to see. Or rather, a low-res texture made to resemble a Mr. Happy's flappy garage. I mean, it's not like it had its own external geometry in a separate hitbox or anything, so please, dear God news outlets, stop calling these badly drawn beef curtains fully rendered. But Matt, fully rendered doesn't always mean rendered in 3D. Well, pardon me for having standards. Anyhow, the intrepid Swizzasaw took a picture of the problematic punani using the in-game camera feature, then posted it to Twitter for a laugh via the PS4 share function. His rewards for this were 600 more Twitter followers, a hearty round of internet chuckles, and a 1-week suspension from the PlayStation Network for content of an adult or sexual nature. The very next day, Sony increased his suspension to a full month for having the sheer gall to tell people he'd been suspended, before eventually backtracking and lifting his suspension altogether, claiming it was made in error. By which time it was of course far too late. The story, for want of a better word, had already spread across the gaming press like wildfire and made the jump to mainstream news outlets like the BBC. Unsurprisingly, it also found its way into the pages of the Daily Mail, Britain's #1 hate rag for child fanciers, Nazis and child fancying Nazis. So verily there was much hemming, hawing and pearl clutching over this scandalous snap of a scented garden, but Watch Dogs 2 doesn't just have farmers' furrows on display. Oh no, ham ramrods are also represented by way of characters like this naked except for a hat hobo pissing in an alley. Although calling that a yogurt cannon is a bit of a stretch. I don't mean to body shame or whatever the term is, but as Captain Beefhearts go, it's hardly Cobra Club caliber, is it? Now this is what I'd call a proper, fully rendered Merchant of Venice. This, on the other hand, it's just a bruise with a matrimonial peacemaker drawn on it. Disregarding the absurd contradiction that blowing people up is a-okay, yet woe betide you if their shattered corpses land in a way that shows off their genitals, you could be forgiven for expecting Ubisoft to be in full-blown panic mode right about now, frantically scouring every instance of third legs and velvet undergrounds from Watch Dogs 2 until the population of virtual San Fran is as anatomically impaired as a Ken doll. If so, then Ubisoft's official response, emailed to several games media outlets, may actually surprise you. We are aware that one of the NPC models in Watch Dogs 2 is rendered in a way that is particularly explicit. While Watch Dogs 2 is a mature rated game, we apologise and will update this NPC model to make it more consistent with other NPC models in the game in a patch to be released this week. We are also working with our first party partners to ensure that players can continue to play and share all content from the game within the bounds of the first party's respective codes of conduct. The patch has since gone live and the sex worker in question now sports ordinary underwear rather than the crotchless variety. But she wasn't the only woman NPC in Watch Dogs 2 proudly showing off her Swizzasaw's surprise. There's this woman, for example, wearing nout but a hula hoop and what nature gave her on her birthday, only the main entrance to her kitty cat club is obscured by acceptable levels of foliage. Don't make a joke about the French, don't make a joke about the French, don't make... which is itself something I find rather refreshing and demonstrates Ubisoft's more European attitude towards such matters, a different cultural perspective that sees nothing inherently bad or wrong about men or women being depicted au naturel. Shit. Gods, remember a few years back when we all laughed at Ubisoft for saying female character models were too resource intensive to develop? Who's laughing now, eh? Well, some peeps were, in a jokey schoolyard tee-hee sort of way. Even most of them, however, along with a majority of rational people, were generally unfazed by this entire nontroversy. Which is as it should be. Why must this even be an issue in an age where you can cop an eyeful of wildling hot springs or evidence of giant's blood in an episode of Game of Thrones? Plus, it's not like the ESRB rating for Watch Dogs 2, which is M for mature and not B for babysitter, doesn't mention nudity. It quite clearly does. In fact, I actually give Ubisoft credit for sticking to their guns and not simply doing away altogether with gentleman ushers or Cyprian fountains. Let the alley-pissing hobos keep their Master John Goodfellows. Deny not the ladies of the night their venerable monosyllables. The sooner people stop making a fuss about this kind of thing, the sooner this kind of thing won't give them cause to. Now, I'm not demanding explicit depictions of Mr. Peaslin visiting Mrs. Fubbs' parlour. No, nothing of the sort. I'm merely saying virtual human nudity in and of itself shouldn't be a big deal. Though if Watch Dogs 2 did have that sort of Brazzers level carry on, I still wouldn't expect Twitch to put it on their list of prohibited games, because the rules only apply when Twitch want them to, and usually to indie titles. Speaking of indie titles, another page was added to the sorry story of No Man's Sky this week when it was discovered one of the designers at Guildford-based Hello Games, Gareth Bourne, left the company last month for another galaxy not so very far away, Manchester to be precise, where the UK division of Cloud Imperium Games are working on Star Citizen's Squadron 42 single-player experience. So he's moving from one developer that promised the stars yet woefully underdelivered to another developer that promises the stars and will most likely underdeliver to some lesser or greater extent. Or as internet problem child and vehement Star Citizen opponent Derek Smart put it, abandoning a sinking canoe for a sinking luxury cruise liner. Oh Derek, you cheeky scamp. Still, what better fit for a developer that prides itself on being open about its game than someone from a development team that's been silent for months, eh? The news of Bourne's move from one universe with procedurally generated planets to another universe with procedurally generated planets was not met with much cheer or optimism from fans over in the No Man's Sky subreddit. In fact, they've been keeping a running tally of exactly how many days it's been since there was any official communication to the community from Hello Games about No Man's Sky. It's currently at just over 90 days of radio silence, not counting that whole hacking incident that caused the mods of the No Man's Sky subreddit to temporarily change it to a Mr. Robot discussion group. I still need to finish watching Season 2. Compare and contrast this silence to, I don't know, Dishonored 2 for example? The co-creative director of which, Harvey Smith, has been very accommodating to fans on social media, responding to suggestions for a mission select option, acknowledging performance problems, and giving a rough ETA for a patch to fix it, among other things. Not forgetting the game was, this week, confirmed to be getting a free update in December that adds a new Game Plus mode and custom difficulty settings, ideally after they've sorted out the performance issues on PC, a patch for which is reportedly coming next week. So, in a last-ditch attempt to persuade Sean Murray to speak up and say something, anything, about the future of No Man's Sky, the mods over on the game's subreddit have organised a charity fundraiser for Cancer Research UK. The initial goal was £500, but it has already hit double that target, approaching almost 3 times the total, in the space of a few days. I'd normally be a bit miffed about using charity as a cudgel to beat someone with, but the money raised will be going to Cancer Research UK, regardless whether Sean Murray breaks his post-development silence or not. So it's nice to see members of the No Man's Sky community channeling their somewhat justifiable anger into something positive. Rather than posting pictures of the Hello Games office with supposed trash and debris outside as proof Sean Murray and co have done a runner. Oh please, that's not trash and debris. That's just Guildford. Whether Sean will finally speak up and address the community who feel he has abandoned them remains to be seen, although I personally wouldn't hold my fucking breath. Finally, Vince Zampella, CEO of Titanfall 1 and 2 creators of Respawn Entertainment, mentioned in an interview with Glixall this week that he was unsure if the studio will be making a Titanfall 3. When asked straight up if they'll be making one, Zampella said the following: "The game is critically a huge success. We're really happy with all the reviews and the positive sentiment. Sales? It's too early to tell. Indeed, it's the sales that are the main sticking point for a potential third Titanfall, although that's not the fault of Zampella or Respawn. The blame for that rests squarely on EA's shoulders." Or whichever pea-brained executive at EA had the brilliant idea of releasing Titanfall 2 slap bang between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, putting it out with a mere week's breathing room either side between two of the biggest, most anticipated releases of the year, with the assumption that we're all made of fucking money. And that's a genuine honest to God's crying shame. because by all accounts Titanfall 2 is pretty damn bloody good, and a strong improvement on the first one. Hell, when people are telling me its single player campaign is as good as or even better than Doom's, then I can't help but be somewhat intrigued, especially given Doom's single player campaign was absolutely ace. I hear there's also a mission with the same gameplay mechanic used in my favourite mission of Dishonored 2, which I won't clarify here. I've been told off once already for spoilers. An EA PR handler sitting in on the interview stated, "We're committed to the franchise." And I hope that's true. It'd be a pity to see Respawn go the same way as Maxis, Westwood and Bullfrog. Another corpse in the trench of studios EA has killed off through its own corporate stupidity. That's all for this episode of Pixel Burn. If you liked it, then please do let me know by clicking the requisite like button down below, and subscribe as well if you haven't already, and let your friends, your family, your dog and Ubisoft's boxes and bellends department know as well. At the very least, I hope you found it tolerable. Meanwhile, till next time, as always, you can go now. No, not you. Hello. Remind me, don't make a joke about it. What are you doing? You want to turn around? Every now and then I get a little bit lonely and you're never coming round. Turn around. Every now and then I forget the words.